You've been living your life on autopilot for too long. You've been reacting instead of creating. You've been waiting for the right time, the right opportunity, the right permission. But let me tell you something. There is no right time. There is only now. At some point, you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, this is my life. This is my time. And I will no longer hand over the steering wheel to fear, excuses, or circumstances. I will take back control. Because here's the truth. Control isn't about controlling the outside world. You can't control the economy. You can't control what other people think. You can't control every curveball life throws your way. But you can control the one thing that matters most to your state, your focus, your decisions. Your state determines your destiny. When you're in a powerful state, you make powerful choices. When you're in a weak state, you accept things you shouldn't accept. You tolerate what drains you. You settle for less than you deserve. So ask yourself, what have you been tolerating? What habits? What relationships? What stories have you been carrying that no longer serve you? Taking back control starts with deciding that your future will not be a repeat of your past. It starts with raising your standards, changing your energy, and taking massive action today. Every breakthrough begins with one decision, the decision to stop being a passenger and start being the driver. You may not be able to change your past, but you can change your direction right now. You can draw a line in the sand and declare no more excuses, no more waiting, no more living small. This is your reminder. You have the power inside you. Not tomorrow, not someday. Right now, it's in the way you breathe. It's in the way you move. It's in the way you speak to yourself. Step into your strength, step into your courage, and reclaim the life that was always meant for you. Take back control, own your mind, own your emotions, own your future. Because if you don't, life will. You can't control the outside world, but you can control your focus, your emotions, and your actions. Think about that for a moment, because most people spend their entire lives trying to control everything outside of themselves. They try to control circumstances. They try to control what people think of them. They try to control outcomes that are not within their grasp. And when things don't go the way they expect, they collapse into frustration, stress, and disappointment. The truth is, the world outside of you will never bend perfectly to your will. People will let you down, markets will change, opportunities will come and go, and obstacles will appear that you never planned for. If your sense of certainty, if your sense of peace, if your sense of progress depends on controlling everything external, you will always feel like you are losing. But when you realize that the true power is in controlling what happens inside of you, everything begins to shift. Your focus is your first line of control. At any given moment, you can choose what to give your attention to. Most people waste their focus on what's missing, what's wrong, or what they can't do. They obsess over limitations, replay their failures, and magnify problems that could be handled if they just shifted perspective. What you focus on expands, and when you constantly focus on fear, doubt, and negativity, you live in a world where opportunity seems invisible. But the moment you decide to focus on what you have, what you can do, what's possible, your mind opens up to solutions, your energy rises, and your vision clears. It's not magic, it's direction. The mind is a powerful machine, but it's only as effective as the commands you give it. If you focus on scarcity, you'll find scarcity everywhere. If you focus on possibility, you'll find paths forward that you didn't even know existed. Then there's your emotions. This is where most people feel powerless, like emotions just happen to them, like they are victims of anger, sadness, anxiety, or fear. But emotions are patterns, and patterns can be shifted. The way you breathe, the way you move, the way you speak to yourself, all of it impacts how you feel. You cannot feel weak and disempowered if you stand tall, breathe deeply, and fill your mind with empowering thoughts. You cannot feel confident if your body is slouched, your breath is shallow, and your self-talk is filled with doubt. Controlling your emotions is not about denying how you feel. It's about mastering the habits that create your feelings. When you understand that your emotions are in your hands, you no longer wait for the world to give you confidence, passion, or joy. You generate it from within. And when you can create the right emotions on demand, you step into a level of control that most people will never experience. And then there are your actions. The truth is, life doesn't reward intentions, it rewards execution. You can think about change all you want. You can plan, you can dream, you can even feel inspired, but until you act, nothing in your life shifts. Too many people wait for motivation to act, when in reality, it is action that creates motivation. The moment you take one step, even a small one, you build momentum, and momentum is what creates transformation. Your actions are the physical evidence of what you truly value and what you truly control. You can't control what others do, but you can control whether you show up. You can't control if the opportunity lands in your lap, but you can control whether you prepare yourself for when it does. You can't control every outcome, but you can control the effort you give, the habits you build, and the consistency you bring every day. Think about how much freedom there is in this. You don't need to manipulate the outside world to feel empowered. You just need to master yourself, because when you control your focus, you see opportunities others miss. When you control your emotions, you turn challenges into fuel instead of walls. When you control your actions, you create results instead of waiting for luck. The person who masters these three things, focus, emotions, and actions, becomes unstoppable because they no longer live at the mercy of what happens around them. Most people give away their control every single day without realizing it. They let someone's opinion ruin their mood. They let the news dictate their outlook on life. They let setbacks convince them that they're not capable. But every time you hand over your power like that, you're training yourself to live as a victim of the external world. The moment you say, I don't control them, but I do control me, you take that power back. You shift from being reactive to being proactive, from being fragile to being unshakable. It doesn't mean life suddenly becomes easy. Challenges will come, failures will happen, and pain is part of growth. But when you control your focus, your emotions, and your actions, those challenges don't break you. They build you. They become fuel instead of fire. They become stepping stones instead of walls. You become the kind of person who doesn't crumble when things go wrong, but who rises higher because of it. You can't control the outside world, but you can always control what happens inside. That's the line between those who live defeated and those who create unstoppable momentum in life. That's the choice you make every day when you decide what to focus on, how to feel, and what to do next. That's where true freedom lives. Your state determines your destiny. Change your state and you change your life. Every single day, people wake up with the same routine, the same energy, the same emotions, and they wonder why their lives look exactly the same year after year. They think it's because of luck or circumstances or opportunities they didn't get, but the truth is it has very little to do with those things. Your destiny is being shaped moment by moment by the state you live in. If you live in a state of fear, your decisions will reflect fear. If you live in a state of doubt, your actions will be hesitant, half-hearted, and weak. If you live in a state of passion, determination, and certainty, your choices will be bold, decisive, and full of power. The same person with the same resources, the same knowledge, and the same opportunities can get entirely different results depending on the state they are in when they make decisions and take action. Most people don't realize they can shift their state at will. They think it just happens. They think moods are random, emotions are automatic, and that their state is dictated by what's going on outside of them. They wait for something good to happen to feel good. They wait for something exciting to happen to feel excited. They wait for some sign of success to finally feel successful. That is living in reverse. You don't wait for your state to change to act. You change your state so that you can act in a way that produces results. It's not the world that has to change for you to feel powerful. It's you who has to choose to change how you show up. Your body is the fastest way to change your state. Think about how you sit when your depressed shoulders slump, shallow breathing, head down. Think about how you breathe when you're anxious, fast, shallow, nervous. Now think about how you stand when you're confident, upright, chest open, breathing deep, eyes forward. The difference is instant. The way you use your body is a signal to your brain about how you should feel. If you sit like someone defeated, your brain will give you emotions of defeat. If you move like someone powerful, your brain will create the emotions to match. The key is to break the pattern. Change the way you move, change the way you breathe, and you interrupt the emotional state that's been holding you hostage. Then there's focus. Whatever you focus on, you feel. If you focus on what's missing, you feel lack. If you focus on what you can't control, you feel powerless. If you focus on what you have, on what's possible, on what you can do right now, you feel empowered. Your focus is like a magnifying glass. Whatever you point at, it gets bigger in your mind. If you magnify problems, they seem overwhelming. If you magnify possibilities, you start to feel unstoppable. This is why two people can go through the exact same situation and one will spiral downward while the other grows stronger. It's not the event, it's the state they choose to live in and the focus they choose to hold. Your language is the final piece. The words you use to describe your experience shape how you feel about it. If you say you're devastated, you'll feel devastated. If you say you're a little disappointed, you'll feel differently, even if the situation is the same. The brain takes language literally. Change your words and you change your meaning, and you change your state. The difference between saying I'm overwhelmed and saying I'm challenged is enormous. One paralyzes you, the other gives you energy. By consciously choosing the language you use with yourself and with others, you gain another level of control over your state. When you put all of this together, your body, your focus, and your language, you gain the ability to command your state in any moment. And when you can command your state, you command your destiny. Imagine facing a setback in business. If your state is fear and doubt, you'll retreat, you'll cut corners, you'll miss opportunities. If your state is determination and resilience, you'll dig deeper, innovate, and push through. The same setback, the same external circumstances, but two completely different outcomes depending on state. That's how much power it holds. Think about the most successful people you know or admire. They are not free from challenges, they are not free from failures, and they are not free from uncertainty. What sets them apart is their ability to control their state in the face of those challenges. Where most people collapse, they rise. Where most people hesitate, they act. Where most people give up, they find another gear. That comes from conditioning themselves to shift into powerful states on demand instead of waiting for the world to hand it to them. The beautiful part is you don't need years of practice to start using this. You can do it now. You can breathe differently, move differently, speak differently, and choose to focus on something that empowers you right this second. You can create the emotions that serve you instead of waiting for them to appear. You can train your nervous system just like you train your muscles to default to states of strength, gratitude, and determination instead of weakness and fear. And every time you do, you build a stronger foundation for your destiny. Your state is like the steering wheel of your life. Wherever it points, your destiny follows. If you let your state be random, your destiny will be random. If you let your state be determined by other people, your destiny will be at the mercy of other people. But if you take charge, if you decide in each moment to put yourself into the state that will serve you, then your destiny becomes something you design rather than something that just happens to you. Stop tolerating what drains you, raise your standards, and reclaim your power. Every person knows deep inside what they are settling for, yet most pretend it's not happening. They tolerate habits that weaken them, relationships that exhaust them, routines that suffocate them, and excuses that steal their potential. Toleration is silent poison. It creeps in slowly, disguised as comfort, disguised as just the way things are, and before long it becomes the cage you live inside. The life you want doesn't get destroyed overnight. It erodes piece by piece through what you tolerate. Every time you say, it's fine, when it's not, you trade away a little of your power. Every time you accept less than you deserve, you reinforce the belief that you are less than you truly are. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is often filled with the things you've been tolerating. Think about the standards you live by right now. Your standards are the invisible rules that dictate how you eat, how you work, how you treat yourself, how you let others treat you, and how you respond to challenges. They are the thermostat of your life. If your standards are low, no matter how much success you achieve, you'll sabotage yourself back down. If your standards are high, even if you fail temporarily, you'll rise again because you refuse to stay below that level. People don't get what they want. They get what they tolerate. They get the life that matches the standards they have set for themselves. If you tolerate exhaustion, you'll live tired. If you tolerate disrespect, you'll live disrespected. If you tolerate mediocrity, you'll live small. But the moment you raise your standards, you draw a line that says, never again. You stop negotiating with weakness, and you start demanding more from yourself and from life. Rising your standards doesn't mean talking big. It means making a new decision about what is no longer acceptable. It means refusing to put toxic food into your body, refusing to spend hours scrolling while your dreams fade, refusing to surround yourself with people who drain your energy and kill your vision. It means deciding what you will absolutely demand from yourself every single day and holding yourself accountable when no one is watching. It's not about perfection. It's about a new identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tolerates, and you start seeing yourself as someone who commands more, someone who leads themselves first before they expect the world to follow. There is power in subtraction. People think improvement is always about adding more effort, more tools, more goals, but often the real breakthrough is in removing what weakens you. Remove the excuses, and suddenly you discover drive. Remove the distractions, and suddenly you discover focus. Remove the people who keep you small, and suddenly you discover your courage to grow. Life is not always about doing more. It is about doing less of what drains you so you can unleash what fuels you. The moment you eliminate what you've been tolerating, you create space for power, passion, and possibility to flow back into your life. And the challenge is that tolerations often feel normal. You've lived with them so long that you don't notice the cost anymore. You don't notice how much energy that relationship drains, until you step away and feel light again. You don't notice how much time that bad habit steals until you break it and suddenly have hours of freedom. You don't notice how low your standards have sunk until you raise them and look back at how much you once accepted. That's why awareness is the first step. You have to confront yourself honestly and ask, what have I been tolerating that is stealing my strength, my joy, my freedom? And then you must have the courage to say enough. Raising your standards is an act of self-respect. It's declaring that your future matters more than your excuses. It's recognizing that you are not here to live small, weak, or exhausted. You are here to live fully, to grow, to contribute, and to thrive. And you cannot do that while weighed down by tolerations. People will resist when you raise your standards. They will say you've changed. They will say you're being difficult. Of course you've changed. You've stopped living at the level of weakness they were comfortable with. Raising your standards will test relationships because people who benefited from your tolerations will fight to keep them alive. But your life is not meant to be a shrine to other people's comfort. It is meant to be the expression of your highest potential. And here's the truth. When you raise your standards, the world adjusts. At first it feels uncomfortable, like wearing clothes that are too big for you. But soon you grow into them. The opportunities you attract shift. The people who surround you shift. The way you feel about yourself shifts. You stop playing at the level of survival and start playing at the level of creation. And the most powerful part is that once your standards go up, you rarely go back down. Once you experience what it feels like to live without tolerating mediocrity, you never want to go back to being drained, distracted, or disrespected again. Rising your standards is not about arrogance. It's about alignment. It's about aligning your daily choices with the future you claim you want. It's about refusing to betray yourself by living beneath what you know you're capable of. It's about deciding that your energy is sacred, your time is valuable, and your potential is worth protecting. Stop tolerating what drains you. Stop tolerating weakness disguised as comfort. Stop tolerating the habits that keep you tired and the stories that keep you small. The moment you stop tolerating is the moment you take your power back, and from that power comes everything else. Breakthrough begins with one decision: to stop being a passenger and start being the driver. Most people spend their lives sitting in the back seat, watching as circumstances, other people, and old habits steer them in directions they never truly chose. They tell themselves that one day they'll take control, one day they'll chase that dream, one day they'll stop settling, but the days keep passing and the wheel is still in someone else's hands. The truth is, nothing changes until you decide. Change doesn't come from wishing. It doesn't come from hoping. It doesn't come from waiting for the perfect conditions. It comes from one decision, one powerful, non-negotiable decision that you will no longer live as a passenger in your own life. Think about how much energy gets wasted in hesitation. People sit around analyzing, overthinking, doubting, asking, what if I fail? What if it doesn't work? What if I'm not ready? And in that time, life is moving forward without them. The road doesn't stop because you're unsure. The opportunities don't pause because you're scared. The years don't slow down because you haven't made up your mind. They keep moving. And if you don't step into the driver's seat, you'll find yourself years down the road wondering how you ended up where you are. That is the cost of indecision. That is the cost of waiting. One decision can change everything because it ends the debate, it ends the hesitation, and it demands action. When you're a passenger, you live by default. You accept whatever direction life takes you, even if it's not where you want to go. But when you're the driver, you live by design. You choose the destination. You choose the speed. You choose the route. Yes, there will be detours. Yes, there will be obstacles. But at least you're in control of the direction. At least you're steering towards something you truly want instead of being carried towards something you never chose. That's the power of decision. It gives you back control over your own direction. Every breakthrough story begins with a moment of decision. The person who decides they will no longer tolerate being unhealthy. The person who decides they will finally launch that business. The person who decides they will no longer live in fear. The decision itself doesn't guarantee success, but it guarantees movement. And movement is what creates momentum. Once you make the decision, you start acting differently, thinking differently, showing up differently. That shift in identity is what opens the door to breakthroughs that felt impossible before. Without decision, nothing starts. With decision, everything becomes possible. The reason most people avoid making real decisions is because decisions mean responsibility. When you're the driver, you can't blame the road. You can't blame the weather. You can't blame other cars. You have to own your journey. That level of ownership scares people because it means they can't hide behind excuses anymore. But it is also what sets you free. When you decide to be the driver, you claim all the power that comes with responsibility. You no longer wait for someone to rescue you or lead you. You become the one who creates, the one who chooses, the one who shapes your future. That responsibility is not a burden. It's a privilege. The smallest decision can create the biggest ripple. The decision to wake up 1 hour earlier, the decision to finally cut ties with negativity, the decision to commit to a goal with everything you have, these don't just shift your schedule, they shift your destiny. Because once you decide, truly decide, you close every escape route. You stop leaving the back door open for excuses. You stop negotiating with failure. You stop entertaining the thought of going back. Decision means cutting off other options. And when you cut off everything except progress, progress becomes inevitable. It's not about knowing every step before you start. Drivers don't see the whole road from the beginning. They see as far as their headlights take them, and that's enough to keep moving forward. You don't need to know the entire path. You just need to decide on the destination and start driving. The clarity comes from action. The opportunities appear once you're in motion. The lessons reveal themselves as you go. Waiting to see the whole road before you begin is just another way of staying a passenger. Decision gives you the courage to start, and starting gives you the clarity to continue. There's a moment in everyone's life where they feel the gap between who they are and who they're meant to be. That tension will eat at you until you make a decision. You can numb it with distractions, bury it with excuses, or ignore it with business, but it doesn't go away. That gap is life calling you to take the wheel. And the longer you ignore it, the heavier it feels. But the instant you decide, the instant you say, no more, I'm driving now, the weight lifts, and in its place comes energy, certainty, and fire. Decision creates freedom because it eliminates confusion. You know who you are, you know where you're going, and you're no longer pulled in 1,000 directions. Being the driver doesn't mean the journey is smooth. You will hit bumps, you will face traffic, you will get lost at times. But none of that matters because you're still in control. You can always correct your course. You can always find a new route. You can always accelerate again. The passenger has no such power. They just go wherever the driver takes them. You have to decide which role you're going to play. You can keep handing the wheel to fear, to doubt, to other people's opinions, or you can grab it yourself and declare that from this point forward, you are the one in charge. One decision is all it takes to rewrite your story. Not 100 decisions, not 1,000, just one clear, powerful decision that you will no longer live by chance, that you will no longer settle for default, that you will no longer wait for someone else to decide your fate. And once you make that decision, you must back it with action, with intensity, with consistency, until your entire life starts to reflect it. Every breakthrough starts this way. Not with luck, not with resources, not with perfect timing, but with a human being saying, enough, I decide. Take back control by owning your mind, your energy, and your future, because if you don't, life will. Every day, forces outside of you are competing to run your life. The opinions of others try to shape what you believe you're capable of. The distractions of the world try to scatter your focus. The past tries to whisper that nothing can change. If you do nothing, if you don't take control, then you hand over the keys of your destiny to these forces, and they will happily drive your life for you. That is why the first and most important step is ownership. Owning your mind means recognizing that no one else has the right to tell you how to think, what to believe, or what to imagine for yourself. Owning your energy means you are no longer careless with where your strength goes. You stop feeding what drains you, and you start fueling what lifts you. Owning your future means you stop waiting for circumstances to decide and you take responsibility for creating the path ahead. Your mind is the battlefield where everything begins. If you allow fear, doubt, and negativity to dominate your thoughts, then your actions will reflect that. You'll play small, you'll hesitate, you'll retreat at the first sign of struggle. But if you discipline your mind, if you fill it with thoughts of possibility, of solutions, of strength, then your actions will follow that as well. The truth is, you don't have to believe every thought that shows up in your head. You can choose which ones to entertain and which ones to reject. You can train your mind just like you train a muscle. You feed it with knowledge, with empowering ideas, with new perspectives, and over time it becomes stronger. The person who owns their mind is free because no matter what happens outside, no one can take away their ability to choose what to think about it. Energy is the fuel of life, and yet most people spend it recklessly. They give it away to arguments that don't matter, to people who don't respect them, to habits that rob them of vitality. When you don't own your energy, you wake up drained, you go through the day exhausted, and you collapse at night with nothing left for what really matters. But when you decide to own your energy, you protect it fiercely. You guard your body with the right fuel, the right movement, the right rest. You eliminate the toxic relationships and environments that constantly deplete you. You stop saying yes to everything that comes your way, and you start saying yes only to what aligns with your vision. Energy management is not selfish, it is necessary. Because with low energy, even the greatest dream collapses, and with high energy, even the hardest challenges can be conquered. Owning your future requires courage, because it means letting go of the illusion that someone else will save you. Too many people wait for permission, for validation, for someone to choose them. They wait for the government to fix the economy, for their boss to give them a raise, for luck to fall from the sky. That waiting game is how life passes by. Owning your future means taking radical responsibility. If something isn't working, you change it. If you don't have the skills, you learn them. If you fall down, you get up again. The future belongs to those who refuse to sit around waiting for it to be delivered and instead build it with their own hands. It doesn't mean you control every event, but it means you control your direction, your effort, and your persistence. When you combine ownership of mind, energy, and future, you become unstoppable. Because when your mind is strong, no challenge can intimidate you. When your energy is high, no obstacle can exhaust you. When your future is in your hands, no setback can define you. You stop living as a victim of circumstances and start living as a creator of circumstances. You stop letting life push you around and you start pushing back with vision, intention, and action. Most people never taste this kind of power because they never take full ownership. They dabble, they hope, they complain, but they don't step fully into the driver's seat. The moment you decide that everything in your life is either created or allowed by you, you reclaim the power to change any of it. Look at the way the world is designed. Everything around you is trying to capture your attention, to direct your thoughts, to control your choices. Advertisements are designed to hijack your focus. Social media is designed to manipulate your emotions. The culture around you pushes narratives about what's possible and what's not. If you don't own your mind, you become a puppet pulled by strings you don't even see. But the moment you take back control, the moment you decide, I will direct my own focus, I will choose my own beliefs, I will set my own standards, those strings snap and you stand free. Freedom doesn't come from the outside world. It comes from taking back ownership of what's inside. The same is true for energy. You live in a world that constantly tempts you to waste it. Junk food, endless scrolling, shallow conversations, environments that drain your soul. If you say yes to all of it, you'll always be too tired to pursue your real purpose. But when you say no, when you guard your energy as if it's the most valuable resource you have, because it is, you discover a level of strength most people never know. Suddenly, you're not too tired to chase your vision. You're not too distracted to focus. You're not too drained to grow. You become intentional, and intention always beats distraction. And with the future, the world is full of people who try to predict it, complain about it, or fear it. But the truth is, you don't have to predict the future when you are committed to creating it. You don't have to fear the future when you know you are shaping it with every decision you make today. That doesn't mean everything will go exactly as planned. Life will always bring uncertainty. But ownership means you don't sit back and wait, you lean forward and build. You design a vision so compelling that even when setbacks come, you keep moving. You refuse to hand over your future to chance because you know chance rewards the prepared, the decisive, the relentless. Taking back control is not a one-time act, it's a daily discipline. Every morning you wake up with a choice: let life control you or take control of life. Let the world decide how you feel or decide for yourself. Let your energy be stolen or invest it wisely. Let the future be dictated by fear or design it with purpose. The decision belongs to you and no one can make it for you. If you don't own it, life will. If you don't take control, something else will.